Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and the market this morning, just like yesterday morning, is boring and flat as a board. And so there's really nothing to go over with that. I just wanted to try to make a habit out of showing it to you. So XRP has been pretty flat, sitting there at 23, almost 24 cents. I think it may have almost touched 24 yesterday at some point, but that is not that important for today's purposes. Now, the first thing that I want to show you, and before I show you this, I want to make sure you understand what I'm showing you. I'm not saying that I think that this symbol means anything to do with XRP, but I am saying that this symbol could have some significance with regard to things like gold, and down the road, who knows, XRP as well. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here. Rob Licker had sent this to me. Now, the other day, you remember, we were talking about this, and Rob Licker had made me aware of it. Mr. B had tweeted out, check out the Davos X 2020 app if you want to follow the official Davos agenda. Also, I don't mind saying I love the app logo. Now, this is the Davos symbol from the app, and they've got this X right here, okay? Now, and so everybody sees that, and they're like, "Oh, well, that could be XRP." No, well, I just wanted to give you. Some of you may not know any of the history of what X means in relation to XRP or gold. Okay, and so I was just going to show you real quick. The first thing is this: what's going on in Davos is the World Economic Forum. Okay, and if you go down here, this is significant. The World Economic Forum was founded in 1971 by this guy. And then look down here. Events, it says in the summer of 71 they met, but then it says events in 1973, including the collapse of Bretton Woods fixed exchange rate mechanism and the Arab-Israeli war, saw the annual meeting expand its focus from management to economic and social issues. So I guess they started this as not as much of an economic thing, but it basically became a reason for world leaders to meet and talk about, let's face it, talk about money, which is what they all really care about anyway. And how their different countries are going to be affected by this or that, and probably do a lot of planning. Now, what was the Bretton Woods collapse? Well, here's what the Bretton Woods collapse was. In 1971, concerned that the U.S. gold supply was no longer adequate to cover the number of dollars in circulation, President Richard M. Nixon declared a temporary suspension of the dollar's convertibility into gold. By 1973, the Bretton Woods system had collapsed. In other words, at Bretton Woods, the U.S. agreed that they would tie their currency to gold, and they broke that agreement in 1973 when they dropped the gold standard, and that agreement has been broken ever since because our dollars are tied to absolutely nothing. Well, what else did the U.S. get? Okay, the U.S. got the status as the world's reserve currency. Well, they kept that status as the world's reserve currency, even though they didn't keep up their part of the bargain, as far as I understand. So they made it where it was not tied to gold anymore, but they were still. So in other words, a lot of these countries around the world have been mad ever since that the U.S. dollar is the world's reserve currency status, and that's kind of what Rob Licker was floating to me. He was saying, "Look, I wonder if this X has to do with that and tied to XRP in any kind of way." Now, like I said, I'm not saying that, but I'm showing you what I do know about what X means when it comes to these non-sovereign currencies and all. I just wanted to show you this so that you understand what this is. ISO 4217. This is a standard first published by the International Organization for Standardization in 1978. It delineates currency designators, country codes, etc. So let's go down to X currencies. In addition to codes for most active national currencies, provides for supranational currencies, procedural purposes. Codes for precious metals, gold, XAU, silver, XAG, palladium, XPD, and platinum, XPT, are formed by prefixing elements chemical symbol with letter X. These currency units are ... Then if you go down here, the use of the initial letter X for these purposes facilitated by the ISO 3166 rule that no official country code beginning with X will ever be assigned. All right, so now let's go. There was an actual, and I've shown this on the channel before, that there's a lot of new people watching, a lot of people coming into the space because we're starting to see some green. And so let's look here. This is a question on Quora that David Schwartz answered back, let me see if it shows me a date anywhere. It was a while back. I've shown it. What do the letters XRP stand for, or why does Ripple Labs call it XRP? And David Schwartz answered this. 3-letter currency codes are formed by appending a single character to the 2-letter country code by issuing country codes. Since the United States country code is US, US dollars have the currency code USD. Some non-countries still have country codes. The EU has the country code EU, as the currency code for euros, EUR. Of course, XRP is not issued by a country. For assets not issued by any country, the first letter must be X. No country codes starting with X will be issued. So, for example, since the chemical code for gold is AU, gold's currency code is XAU. Some people use BTC for Bitcoin, but people who care about standards use XBT. XRP's first letter is X because XRP is not issued by a country. In the early days, we called the ledger's native asset ripples, so the national currency code to choose was XRP. I don't think anybody calls them ripples anymore, but I have heard ZERP. But the point here is that even this was thought out by the guys running the show. All of this was thought out, and that is a big deal. It should make you feel really good about your investment in XRP, especially against the backdrop of what I said yesterday. I was showing you something where the Goldman Sachs CEO had said that he believes, well, he doesn't believe, he knows that a lot of these central banks around the world are going to start buying and keeping in reserves Bitcoin and things like that. They're also going to keep in reserves XRP. Go ahead and write it down. In fact, I already think they do. All right, now I tweeted this out yesterday. This is something else that you need to be aware of, okay? Now, this is an article by The Guardian. This isn't some jackleg publication. This is one of the largest newspapers over in the UK, is my understanding anyway. But I said, remember that time Brad Garlinghouse said the Ripple phones started ringing off the hook when Facebook announced Libre? Now, what this is an article, Bank of England to consider adopting cryptocurrency. Bank of England, one of the central banks weighing potential benefits amid decline of cash and emergence of Facebook's Libre. The Bank of England will examine how Britain could adopt a Bitcoin style, by the way, Bank of England, who is a Ripple paying customer per Brad Garlinghouse. Bank of England will examine how Britain could adopt a Bitcoin-style digital currency as a part of a global group of central banks that have joined together to examine the possible pitfalls of relying on electronic money. Bank officials will meet with the Bank of Japan, the ECB. Now, we talked about this the other day. The important part of this is this right here. Bank of England, one of the central banks weighing potential benefits amid decline of cash and emergence of Facebook's Libre. This emergence of Facebook's Libre terrified the financial institutions of this world, and I didn't truly realize how correct Brad Garlinghouse was until I saw this article. So I tweeted that out, and now I want to show you and remind you what Brad Garlinghouse said when Libre first came out. So listen up, listen good.
All examples of it is a journey. I think that it is nascent. I will also say that I'm going to send a case of champagne to David Marcus, the guy who runs the Libre. The reason is this week will probably be the best week of signed contracts at Ripple ever.
Right. Wow.
It has been a massive call to action because, again, Facebook kind of came out and said, we don't need Western Union anymore.
Right.
Well, if you're a bank, if you're Western Union, you kind of, That's interesting. And I think the banks realize that if Facebook is going to be a competitor in this space, they can't depend upon a technology like Swift to compete in the marketplace.
So I want to go.
These are all examples.
So there's that. And then he also went on to Bloomberg and said this.
What Ripple's doing is at the institutional level. We're connecting banks. If anything, and I said this publicly, we had one of the best weeks we've had in our history the week Libre was announced, because it's a call to action from banks. David Marcus came out and said, hey, this is the end of Western Union. Well, that's an assault on the financial sector, and we've taken the opposite approach. Let's work with the system, because the regulations are enforced at that point. And again, I just think we can't paint this one big, broad brush, particularly at the U.S. government level, where you have technologies like Bitcoin and Ether that are controlled by Chinese miners.
So, if you've ever wondered if you chose the right digital asset in XRP, and I always go back to 2013 when I started investing in this, these were the only guys who did what the smartest guys in the room would do and went to the regulators and said, look, this is going to a technology that's going to change the world, and we want to work with you. And they did it from the beginning. And so I chose XRP, and you probably chose XRP for the same reason. I've been around long enough to know there's not going to be some revolution where we destroy the powers that be and the banks are gone and the central bankers are gone. No, these people rule the world. And there will always be people like that rule the world. That's just the adult way to think, folks. And that's why we're here. Okay? Now, it's like I've said before, my revolution is going to be in my wallet. And that's the way you should be thinking about this, if you want to think in the responsible way. Now, the crypto utility guy sent me this article right here, and this is a good one. Global finance company processing trillions in payments per year, testing Ripple's remittance network. Bottomline Technologies, a U.S.-based payment processing and consulting company, is testing Ripple's remittance network. According to the company's solutions architect, Laurent Lagarde, Bottomline is updating its software as a service model to utilize new disruptive technologies, including those built by the San Francisco startup Ripple. We know what Ripple offers. Bottomline says thousands of companies use its service to streamline their payments processes. It operates in 92 countries and processes trillions of dollars in payments per year. Well, I think that's pretty awesome. Now, I want to give a shout out to Green Eggs and Ham. This is Sam I Am at Ham, Eggs, and Sam. Give him a follow, and also go to his YouTube page, which is To the Lifeboats. This guy's sharp. He put out a really good tweet here. Interesting speculation, certainly believable. Some unconfirmed talks about Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse having a meeting with Donald Trump and the European Central Bank President Christine Lagarde. And he's got a link that he sent out. It's an article here, and this is the part that he talked about. Be it as it may, there were some unconfirmed talks about Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse having a meeting with Donald Trump and the European Central Bank President Christine Lagarde. Since Lagarde already said the ECB, so anyway, said they want to play an active role in cryptocurrencies, But that is interesting. And this is also interesting. I'm not going into this article, but it kind of speaks for itself here. This from X Lighting the Way. This could jumpstart things. Temenos front-to-back SaaS offering will enable new U.S. digital banks to go live in just 90 days. Read more here. Launch of U.S. SaaS offering. Interesting right there. Okay, next, this is a tweet from Grayscale. In Q3 2019, we saw over $250 million of investment into our family of products. In Q4 2019, we also saw $250 million of investment in our family of products. For a full year summary, check out our 2019 report. The money is coming, folks. It is flowing in. All right, firepower. This right here is great. This is from the World Economic Forum, sent to me from @FirepowerFP. All right, watch this.
Financial markets should be supportive. Prices don't incentivize either private institutions, banks, insurance, or other companies to make these investments. And the digital transformation is exactly the same kind of issue. The revolution is coming, but prices are not yet forcing the actors to make the investments. Financial markets should be supportive.
The revolution is coming, and the prices are just not yet forcing. But in other words, they will be forcing people to come in. Okay, this is from Cryptopolis. I had tweeted this out. I don't think I talked about it on the channel, but it's awesome for you to see. Anyone notice a pattern here? Coins that have remained in the top 20 by year. They go all the way back to 2013. Let's see, this is the original tweet. But okay, look, 2013 to 2020. For those of you that are new to this space, this chart right here is a pretty good indicator of where you ought to be investing your money. Like if I was going to invest, if I'm looking at this chart and I'm going to invest in 4 digital assets, it's really a pretty simple decision. It is Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, and XRP. That's where my money goes. If I'm going to invest in 4, that's where my money goes. Just look at the top 5 since 2013 when I got in this. And they pretty much stay, except Litecoin dropped out a little bit. And really Litecoin, I personally might drop that one and add a different one, but I won't say which one. But if you're looking at it from this perspective, if there's a top 3 that are very obvious, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP. It's a no-brainer of no-brainers. If you're going to invest in digital assets, there you go. Pretty simple when you look at that chart. And this right here, I laughed this morning because it couldn't have been said any better. This is a guy, Iron Halo. He's retweeting the Ripple tweet saying that Ripple's leadership team is in Davos. And he says, where are the other 2,000 crypto teams? Oh, wait. Exactly. Oh, wait. XRP is the one and Ripple are the chosen ones. Period. And finally, I'm going to end with this quote. When things don't happen right away, just remember it takes 6 months to build a Rolls Royce and 13 hours to build a Toyota. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe and hit the like button and tell your friends and family that it takes 6 months to build a Rolls Royce and only 13 hours to build a Toyota. Thank you for listening.